most of us in our adult life have experienced a boss who is very demanding. They often seem to nitpick about what most would consider a very minute detail, always watching your comings and goings and maybe your report margins and your spacings between paragraphs and tenses of sentences and so forth. How many times you use the restroom, or maybe how often you take a break. To even how your desk is organized. There always seems to be a scowl on their face too. They always seem to be perhaps unhappy, unsettled. Something's going on deep inside them. And true, this would make that person difficult to work with. So how do we handle such a person like this with mindfulness? Well, as with any mindfulness situation or a challenging situation that we may face, we always first return to the breath. Breathing in, I know this person is a caring individual. And breathing out, I remain open to compassion. It always starts with the breath when we have any kind of challenging situation. And at first we may assume that this person is being unfair to us. They're treating us very unfairly and very hard. Maybe perhaps we feel harder than they're treating us harder than they treat someone else. But when we bring mindful awareness to the situation, we may begin to see any number of different perspectives, and just a few I'll highlight for our talk today. First, perhaps they see something in us. Maybe there's some undeveloped potential that we are not able to see within us that they are able to see. And that they are truly trying to help you develop so you can be a better co-worker to your team. And even maybe a better person, depending on what that skill is. Right? Maybe it's a communication skill, right? I doubt it's your margin, so as you can kind of set right away on your word processing software. But you never know, right? Maybe they're trying to develop a skill in you. Second, maybe you truly are making those mistakes, right? And you do need that improvement that they are suggesting and highlighting. And so maybe that's something to look within ourselves, right? Maybe I am doing those mistakes. Am I doing them continuously? Same things over and over. And so, maybe a little bit of introspection, right? Mindful awareness of ourselves before we jump to conclusions at the boss. It could be them. Could be. Never know. Sometimes it's a combination of both. And then also remember, though, that your boss has someone to answer to as well, right? And so maybe their work is getting looked at too, and maybe some of their higher ups or your boss's higher ups are mentioning something to them, and that's not a conversation you are going to be privy to, right? Your boss isn't going to say, well, my boss is telling me so and so. So take that into consideration as well. Maybe your boss feels that you don't like them either. So sometimes when we feel that someone doesn't like us, maybe we act negatively towards this other person. I mean, for instance, maybe there was a misheard or misconstrued conversation or comment in the past, and so their feelings got hurt. So consider that as well. That happens. How many times, potentially has that happened to you? Right? Maybe you misheard something and you kind of jump to conclusions. And then something else, trouble at home, right, at their house. As much as people like to say they keep work and personal life separate, sometimes that's a hard balance to maintain. And so often troubles at home do manage to manifest themselves at work. And this can certainly lead to irritability with your boss. So it's important to understand that we are not the only ones who suffer. Suffering is a part of human existence and something that we all will experience and continuously experience. And so this is why it's very important to bring compassion for them and for yourself, right? When you're having a difficult or an uncomfortable conversation with your boss or other superior. Because when you bring compassion to a conversation, it allows you to have that openness to hear what someone else is saying, what they're truly saying. You don't go in there on the defense, right? You're going in there with openness. And in turn, this openness invites understanding to what that person has to say. And that's important because when you have an understanding, you can begin to find that common ground and work towards a more harmonious relationship. We spend an awful lot of time, of our day at work. So we do want that balance and that harmonious relationship between coworkers and our bosses as well. So these types of conversations do help ease suffering too, right? When we have that openness. And this easing of suffering is really what the Buddha has taught us on so many different occasions. When we ease our suffering, we help ease the suffering of others. And when we help ease the suffering of others, we help ease our suffering. And so remember that we practice mindfulness not to sequester ourselves from the world or from experiences, but to form a more meaningful relationship to the world and with ourselves. And your boss is one of many of these connections. And if you recall the notion of inner being and how everybody is connected, then you begin to truly understand that all living beings are connected. And all living beings do desire that peace and harmony and tranquility. So let's do our best to invite compassion into our conversations when we do have maybe a demanding boss at times. I hope you found this helpful and insightful on some level. And with that, my friends, I do wish you a day of peace and ease. Take care.